Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer, the Leo King, and today I'm here with an old friend of mine, astrologer, tarot reader, Nicole Brenny. What's going on?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Hello.
I
How are
haven't seen you. I haven't seen you since the last eclipse. Well, the
you?
last.
Even as crazy as I was like it was the last eclipse that we were hanging out, and you actually were here at the studios.
I know, and it's been really crazy because since then I went through like a whole weird thing. I was like distancing myself from the spiritual community. I went through like a whole rejuvenation process, and now I'm back. So it's kind of
Well, I have to say, as
really.
an astrologer and as your friend, I mean, you did have the gnarliest Saturn opposition I think anybody could have in astrology.
Yeah, you actually did a reading for me. I remember we were sitting on your couch, you were looking at it, you were like, okay, what?
I'm like, that's the hard thing is that South Node, that K2 with Saturn, and it was just both of them. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to experience that. Well, we won't experience it in our life again, right? And that's what I think is so interesting about 2020 too. But I just want to segue back to you is that they both through from April all the way through the summer and into the fall, just followed each other at the same speed. It was just like in retrograde, it was just like, and then they stopped on top of each other and then took forever to get going and then like really kind of slowly split apart. And your sun is directly right in opposition to where it all stopped. So
Right.
how did
I
that?
was I was slammed. I mean, it was, and then Jupiter was in Sagittarius, so it was like I was reconsidering my belief system, I was reconsidering my business, and then being around you, you're like trying to, motivate and inspire, like you should be putting all this energy into your business and doing this, that, the other thing, and I'm like sitting there like I don't even know what I believe in anymore, and
Yeah.
like I don't know who I am anymore. And but the thing is, like when you go through those transits, you are learning those lessons, and if you stay stuck in that energy, that's like not really integrating. But I feel like I went through that like darkness and that scariness, and I feel like I know myself better than ever. I know what I believe in better than ever. I know what I need to do more than ever. But it was rough. It was really rough. And I think that a lot of people that are watching will also be able to relate to some of these themes, because some of those things that we're talking about are like relative to my birth chart, but also some of them were just literally because Jupiter was in Sagittarius and Saturn was in Capricorn, and that like overall energy was impacting me in a huge way, just because it was like sending all that to me like personally. So it was really rough. I'll admit it was really hard for like just me thinking about my career. Like all that energy was going into my fourth house of home, what makes me happy. So it was more natural for me to like want to be at home, want to serve. Yeah, like want to just like sit and think and feel and be around my family. Like that was so much more natural to me. But what I found is that, you know, like healing my emotions and working through my emotions, and even like my friendships in the spiritual community, like working through that aspect of it, like how we connect with each other, like professionally, but also emotionally, and how that plays into our purpose and what we do out in the world. It's like I couldn't ignore the emotional aspect of anything that I was doing, and going through the emotions allowed me to kind of see what I'm doing that isn't working, because it's just like not the right direction for me, but also what I'm doing that needs to change just because the world changes and things are changing. And like, obviously things are really changing right now when we look at the astrology of 2020. So we all have to kind of be willing to also change ourselves. So it was hard.
Wild. Being a Cancer that you are, and you are a Cancer in the fourth house, and having that Saturn in the 10th South Node, and it's in Capricorn. I mean, it's like this. It's this tree of life kind of situation. It's like the
Yes.
roots got to be rooted right. You know that you have all this stuff to bud to the world, but it's like you had to kind of get to the deepest roots and like make sure that foundation was all good within yourself. And it was eclipses by your birthday. I mean, it was just like, right? So they always say when an eclipse is happening on your birthday time, at least a week around your birthday, right? It's only
Yes.
going to be more extreme in your, it's not only going to be in your solar return, but it's going to just energetically just radiate. Like I call it radiation solar eclipses now. It's like a radiation on things. It's just so, it's like a microwave cooker. Just, and it enhances everything into the most kind of deep karmic stuff. And when you're dealing with the nodes on your sun and with the south node on Saturn opposing with the north node on the sun, I mean, I've never gone through that. I don't know anybody who has. You're the only person I know.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, yeah, my career isn't over. Like, I'm still doing astrology. I'm still doing tarot. I had like crises within that, which I was very open about and talked about on my Instagram. Like, if you ever want to just like follow me along with things, follow my Instagram. But I will say that my direction in life has completely changed, and the way that I think about success has completely changed, and the way that I think about what I want to achieve is like so different than before. Like, it's just been really, really strange. And a lot of it has had to do with like, well, what do I believe in? What is my faith? Like, do I just fully believe in astrology? Do I fully believe in something greater? Like, do I fully believe in myself? You know, it's all those questions were asked and eventually answered, which wasn't easy. And yeah, my path is completely different now. Even the things that I envisioned for my business for 2020, it's not going to be what it was at all. Like, there's going to be similar things or whatever, but it's forever change for the better or for the worse. But the thing about this whole stuff for me has been like, just trying to be more authentic, trying to be more true to what makes me happy, try to also step into more leadership and what I feel I can lead in. And that's a lot with this coming up eclipse too. It's a lot about like these real leaders coming out into the world that can truly lead from the heart, you know? And so that's been hard.
I think that's a good segue. I mean, how are you really feeling just about this eclipse cycle? And then really just, I mean, I think the beginning of this year right away with the eclipse cycle is kind of setting a major tone for 2020 right away. Like, it's like not even giving us a moment to kind of breathe. It's just like, here you go, bam.
Yeah, it was weird, but I will say that this eclipse was a lot more like soft and gentle for me. Probably just because it wasn't like exactly on my sun. But the cool thing about this last eclipse, so let's start there because it's like a set here. And this isn't the final eclipse set that's happening in Cancer and Capricorn. There will be another one. So this isn't like the final, you know, battle or anything like that. But this last eclipse that we had, which is the first of this pair, was it was the Six of Hearts day. Okay. So that is a really, really nice card. The Six of Hearts is actually like one of my absolute favorite cards. And so the Six of Hearts, with having an eclipse on a Six of Hearts day, that's just kind of emphasizing this lesson of being happy, being emotionally happy, like really pursuing relationships that make you happy, people that make you happy, things that you enjoy, following your heart through the path of self-love, truly, truly loving yourself. So I'm betting that there are so many people out there who put as a New Year's resolution, self-love, or wanting to connect with themselves more on an emotional level, like less about like, oh, I need to be in this perfect relationship, but more like, no, I truly need to love myself. And one thing I was talking about on Instagram is, do you know the artist Lizzo?
Yeah.
Okay, so she talks a lot about self-love and self-nurturing and everything. And she is like one of the #1 artists in the world right now. She's up nominated for a bunch of Grammys. And to me, that makes so much sense, not only with like these eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn, but also Uranus and Taurus, but also the Six of Hearts with this path of self-love, like feeling good. Like, she literally sings about this stuff, like feeling good just because she loves herself, not because she has a man or has money or anything like that. So I'm guessing there are so many people out there that kind of identify and connect with this concept of like, I need to just love myself. Even if you're in a relationship, even if you're, you know, married, whatever, like just really connecting with that concept. Because when you truly love yourself, you allow yourself to do things that make you happy. You are healthier. So that is one of the biggest things that I'm seeing for this first eclipse. Yes, there's like, I can go into like scary kind of stuff too, but as like this lesson that's coming up and this kind of gift that we can grab from this Christmas eclipse, it's really like, how can we love ourselves more so we can find more emotional happiness? And that's bringing in that Cancerian aspect, like what truly makes us feel good, like really what makes us feel good, you know? And
well, it's kind of interesting you brought up, you know, Lizzo, but then it's like, then on the other side, there was like that Juice World rapper who died, right, at like 21, right? He was like not really living in that self-love space. Like he died by being in a private jet and the pilot knew that he had drugs on him, so he decided to eat all the drugs and had a seizure from it and died.
yeah, I didn't know that full story. I just know that he had passed away, but that's so interesting.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, especially with Jupiter that was on that eclipse, right? It's like, I mean, it's kind of basic stuff about like being your own. I don't even like the term guru, but just being like wise, like thinking a little bit longer than just like, like he was more afraid of being captured and arrested than not maybe thinking all the way through of like, or almost like believing in, oh, I could just eat these and get away with this. I don't think that we can get away with not living in our authentic self and understanding, especially because it was Capricorn. Like there are these traditions and there are these basic rules of life. I know that there's world changes going on with rules and so forth, but I think that when it comes to the fundamental basics of a human understanding of Jupiter and Capricorn is like, you know, like taking that many drugs at once to try and get away with, especially crime usually does not do well with Capricorn. You know what I mean? Like, unless it's like, I guess Pluto and Saturn, but, you know, I think Jupiter's kind of not going to allow it to really go on anymore as much. If that makes sense.
No, not at all. And Jupiter does not like being in Saturn's sign. Jupiter is starved there. And then Saturn's there, which like further starves Jupiter. So it's like a really harsh place for Jupiter to be. Like Jupiter wants to bring abundance and goodness and positivity and all these things, but Saturn is this restrictive kind of crazy force. So it's not a really good, it's not great having Jupiter in Capricorn in a weird way. Like if you look at the Vedic way of thinking of things, or at least the way that I've learned, at least Jupiter is with, I mean, Jupiter is starved by Saturn, but in a certain way, at least Saturn is strong, which in a sense kind of saves Jupiter because Saturn is in its own sign. So it's like this strong energy kind of holding down the fort. But when we have that energy at play, we're more so talking about like, what's this, you know, how can we benefit in the long term? It's no longer about the short term gains. It's really about like, okay, let's think about how we can improve things, not for this year, but like for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, like thousands of years. Like I even think right now about the stuff happening in Australia. It's like, they cannot just think about a short-term solution. Like they might have to sacrifice a lot in the short term to prevent a devastation, catastrophic fire like this happening again in 200 years. I mean, it's like more like really we need to be thinking long-term. And I think that's what a lot of this energy in Capricorn is forcing us to do, is really truly think long-term. So before we get into that, I wanted to bring up something with this Juice World thing. Is I use the cards of truth, which you always love talking to me about the cards of truth. Like you'll just randomly text me, call me about just the cards. Like, what about me? Why aren't you asking me about my day? No, but you love the cards.
Hey, I bought the software.
Yes, so now you can be your own cardologist. But I've studied the tarot for 20 years, and the tarot is actually connected with the cards of truth. So we can add an extra layer of understanding to the cards of truth just by knowing a lot about the tarot. So the Six of Hearts, which was the card of that eclipse, the last eclipse, right, is the Devil tarot card. So that's the association there, is the Devil tarot card. So when we're using that card in a really, really good way, we are going away from things that are bad for us. So that's like Lizzo, right? She's like, you know, I don't need to text people back that don't want to text me back. Like that sort of thing. Like, no, if you don't want to be with me, I don't want to be with you. A negative association with the Devil Tarot card is addiction. So like going towards things that are really bad for you, like falling trapped to that. So keep this in mind when we talk about this upcoming eclipse. So that's kind of the energy there, is like the devil, like temptations, addictions, like old patterns, because they make you feel good, whether that's drugs, alcohol, bad relationships, bad friendships.
Jewels.
No, I was thinking, when you said jewels, I was thinking like rubies and emeralds and pearls.
Well, think about it. There's almost
Like a
kind of that
pirate.
weird deceptive aspect too, with them naming it that.
Yeah, it attracts pirates.
Hey, I said this would be the time for pirates. There are actually reports of pirates like a couple weeks ago during the first eclipse too.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So isn't that crazy though? It's like the Devil Tarot card. So yeah, you have like this beautiful energy, but there's also like, you know, let me trap you with this promise of something good. Like people could have temptation in their relationships. People could have like, you know, people that have given up alcohol or drugs could kind of maybe find themselves getting more pulled into that, especially through the holidays. Like that kind of stuff could be happening. So now this upcoming eclipse, I want to hear what you have to say about this upcoming eclipse, and then I will bring this all together.
Well, one is Saturn and Pluto are meeting up 2 days after the eclipse. And that cycle in Capricorn with Saturn and Pluto hasn't happened since 500 years ago, literally. So
Yeah.
I almost feel like this is such an intense eclipse because it is closing out that 500-year cycle. And what I think the most interesting thing is too, is Uranus is turning direct on the eclipse. So it's like the last planet that's retrograde right now is turning direct. And I feel like it's like this major activation point for people in their lives of closure to move forward into a better life. Like, I feel like it's like, these are very tough decisions, and they deal with a lot of emotion, especially with this lunar eclipse in Cancer. And they're dealing with a lot of, I would say, a lot of kind of like this, like kind of like feeling like you're at, I don't want to say that karma ever ends, but I would say that there's like a really deep layer here of karma that we've all been clearing throughout 2019, that in 2020 we're like, having that final kind of cut it full out. Like it's like this major karmic huge story. And you brought up the patterns earlier from the first eclipse, and there's a lot going on that's allowing us to really feel like we can cut away, I would say, a majority of the chunk of something that our whole lives we've been living that has not maybe even been aware of, or maybe if you are aware, if you just go deep in your Akashic records, or you do a lot of past life stuff, like it feels like it's a completely new story chapter. And I don't even, that doesn't even give enough emphasis to it, really. But I feel that it's beautiful though in Cancer, because it's reminding us that it's not so much about what we're attaining in the world or our status anymore, or any of that. We have to find that compassion, that love, and that connection emotionally. And I think that's going to be the major part of this, is that the new karma is always written by emotion anyway. It's not about what you did as much as the effects of what you've done through the emotions you experience. I feel that emotions are what carry karma. I think that that's the root. So it's like, these are heavy emotional times, but it's also trying to transmute itself into these new emotional stories, these new emotional situations. And I feel that Uranus, it's making a semi-square to Neptune, and this has been going on for a while. And so, because Neptune's coming 16 and into 17, and that's 45-degree angle to Uranus. And this is where the media stuff, this is also where your own illusions are kind of being, checked by Uranus and Taurus turning online, like turning on, like, are you really looking at the value of this illusion, or is this really, you want to go into crazy world, or do you not? Like, it's kind of like, you have an option right now in your life with this last eclipse and with Saturn and Pluto, which is pressure. That's a pressure cooker. Those two are very slow. The last ones were in 82 and 83. when they were in Libra, ironically enough, with Saturn in its dignity, you know, I mean, it's exaltation. It's like Saturn, both times with Pluto in this last 37 years, has literally gotten its two favorite signs to be in. So it's like, this one's even more powerful, but K2's here, which I think is like the illusion of this dominating force in life, or it's really about control too. Like, right. I feel like this is about not being afraid of feeling and instead getting locked away into a prison of control, away from feeling, away from experiences that allow you to feel. Even though Jupiter is at, you know, its fall position here in Capricorn, it is with K2 through this eclipse. So I think that this is allowing to be like a trap door, a bottom drop out of these old belief structures of how we identify our purpose in our life, and starting to come from, I think, a much more beautiful vision of, we can actually find an emotional, more beautiful place to be, to create what we define as what we're achieving in our life, to define what the karma is that we want to leave. Like, I feel like that's what the whole idea of a beautiful new world is what we're all achieving, what we're all putting up as the prize in our life. And I think it's coming back down to the most basic fundamentals of joy and abundance through connection, through a deeper feeling of safety, which is honestly just to feel itself. I think that, you know, we always say, like, if you're, you know, when you're with your mom or when you're with a friend or something, just a hug, or just a, you know, somebody shows up, if you're at the hospital and they bring you flowers and they just give you that card, and then they look at you in the eyes and they say they love you. It's just those moments in life right now are the centric basis of what's going to start the new stories. And if you're afraid to go into those places, you're not going to get anything. It's going to feel like you're in a barren desert, you know?
I completely agree with you on everything, everything that you said. I really think that, just to like add on to that, with, you know, the control thing, I think a lot of what's been coming up, especially in the last 6 months, is maybe even to a year, is what is emotionally controlling you, or what emotional thing that happened in the past or your entire life that's emotional has control over you and your actions and the way that you are, especially authority figures. So I've been seeing so many clients and people in my life that are dealing with the stories and histories revolving around their mother or a motherly figure in their lives, especially with Cancer. Like, okay, wow, I didn't learn how to live. I didn't learn how to be because my mother was messed up, or because I had a weird relationship with her. And how do I rewrite that? How do I, you know, even learn how to be, since I didn't have that authority in my life teaching me the right way? And how is that impacting everything in my life? Or what other emotional story, if it isn't, for instance, a mother, I've seen too, like, relationships from the past that have these holds over people, or friendships that have these holds over people. And how is that influencing your life in this like huge way, like for, you know, a big portion of your life? So those are the sorts of things I think that are kind of being looked at and healed. And so I think people can really undo like really deep emotional patterns and choose a better way and choose their own authority, in the sense that they can make better emotional decisions. And like you said, start this new story that's going to be completely different. And with Pluto and Saturn together, it's really about thinking, like I said, for the very long term. And Pluto, we could call it the ego destroyer, but in my language, I like to say it's the ego integrator. And in that sense, it's about looking at all these aspects of ourselves that we don't like our weaknesses and our flaws and all these things, and turning them into our greatest resource. And so with Pluto and Saturn conjuncting together as like a personal lesson, it's really looking at the things you don't like about yourself and being willing to use them as teachers and use them as your strength to move forward towards a goal that maybe doesn't come to fruition in a week, but maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 50 years, and slowly moving towards that, and not letting bad emotional programming keep you from that, you know, and not letting bad authority or bad advice keep you from that. And there will be difficulty. There are going to be false teachers. There are going to be, I mean, we see this all the time. People start a YouTube channel and they're like, oh, let me be your new guru. I hear lots of horror stories from my clients about people, they signed up for a course or signed up for coaching, and then they get harassed when they don't want to continue. And the people are like, I'm this amazing guru. Like, now that you don't want to work with me anymore, you're going to be cursed for the next 20 years. Like, crazy scam artist type people coming out. And the truth is, like, me and David are sitting up here, like, acting like we're these big authority and leaders in astrology and the cards and whatever. And, to a certain degree we are. But with this eclipse, as I think you were saying earlier, or maybe I was saying this to myself, we really have to become our own authority. And that's like the truth about it. And that's the Four of Spades. That's the card that is happening on the day of this next eclipse. It relates in the tarot to the Hierophant, which is like this guy that is going to tell you how to live. He's going to say if it's okay if you marry this person. He's going to bless your marriage, bless your children. You can come to him for advice. And we really have to figure out what our authority is, become that ourselves, or find better authority. Like, this is what it's all about. And the path to discovering this is through exactly what David was saying. Like, it's almost like you were reading the cards. So the path to doing this is through feeling connected to everyone, like to lose this idea that it's just my selfish world and I want to be the richest and I want to be the best. I'm the best astrologer. I'm the best surfer. I'm the best artist, whatever. And really thinking like, no, we're all in this together. And I need to have a set of values and a way of looking at the world and a way of looking at reality as it is and not how I want it to be. And this is like the like law of attraction, manifesting whatever you want. This is like, no, my reality is good enough. I'm good the way that I am. Like, this is enough. It's like if you look at the Vedic side, we had that last eclipse in Mula Nakshatra.
Right.
And now it's going to be
my Jupiter's right there.
Yeah. And then we have the next one in Punarvasu. So it's kind of like, this is like, really just being happy with what you have and who you are and accepting that and being secure in that, like really truly being secure and not striving for like the best car and the best whatever. And we all have our own way of doing that, like for me, it's like, I always have to have like the best, I don't know, food, the best surfboard, whatever. Like you want to have the best car. Like we all have this area where we act like that. And this is about being like, no, I have enough and I'm okay with it. And I'm secure in myself. And I'm secure in myself because we're all one and we're all connected. So if they have a nicer house than me, it doesn't matter. Like, we're all in this together. And you're going to see a lot of people, I think, this year with New Year's resolutions related to no spending, not buying more clothes, or a year of no spending, or, like using the things they have, reading the books they already bought, taking the classes they already paid for, wearing the clothes they already have in their closet, like really just kind of.
Well, yeah, because I think that the reality itself is not as on focus as much as the emotional connections of life. And I also feel that relationships, business, romantic, friendship is everything, because Saturn and Pluto, last time they met was in Libra, and that's closing the cycle. And that lunar eclipse is bringing up 2 days before it all closes, that 37 years since 1983 when they met last, about relationships. And it's been a wild ride for 37 years. We've looked at the reprogramming, the restructuring of what relationships even look like. We've all been through the most hellish ups and downs of Pluto and Libra with Saturn and Libra, right? Like, we've all seen it all. It used to be pre that, where it'd be like the Joneses down the street that went through that crazy relationship situation, where just kind of the blacklisted one, like, oh, wow, like, yeah, I've never had to go through something like that. Now I think that everybody's been through the last 37 years, even if you were born after it, everybody could say that they've been through the weirdest relationships in their lives, that everybody can relate on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it all, right? So it's like we're all now coming into this space where it's like, I think you're right about, it's not even about the best car anymore, the best, any of this physical stuff. It's like, we have to clean up life by not even cleaning up, but mainly by by feeling again and by finding connection into this world that actually moves us. Because I think that it's going to be moments in life now that are feeling, because you know, K2 is always said to be like this vast wasteland or desert or something like that. And with Jupiter there, it's almost like a false promise in Capricorn of this like major achievement, but there's no oasis in there. You know, it's kind of like, what's the point in having something so grand or, you know, reach some really high place if you're alone, you don't have much water, and you know, we live in a selfie world today. It's like, not like you're going to be able to broadcast that thing at the top of the hill. There's no cell service up there. You know what I mean? And probably your battery's already dead. So, you know, it's like, you know, people doing things for those reasons now, right? Which is, I think the whole going to the gym to take a selfie instead of going to the gym is over. And I also think, you know, when you bring up the gurus or spiritual community or anything like that, I think those that really hopped on as some sort of, I'm going to do this as a fad, they're coming into the harsh reality that this is something that you do every day. You just don't get successful and then go, well, I'm not going to do anything. You know, it's like you continue on the path, and that's a deep connection. And it really isn't about how far you make it. It's just about how much you connect with others, and that this can be a beautiful creative time as well. But it is the moment of, is it going to be a barren wasteland for you, or are you going to fill your cup up? I mean, it really is very, you know, cup energy in the tarot to me.
Yeah, well, the Six of Hearts would be the Six of Cups.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, that would be the
So I have a question about your cards of truth with cards of truth. So like I ran the chart for the eclipse with it. And of course it's a 4 of spades. But then if it's an eclipse, would you also look at the sun and the moon card of that day of the 4 of spades? Like in this one, I think it's a 10 of hearts and then a 10 of diamonds. So it's like a 10 of hearts sun and a 10 of diamonds.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely could, especially if it's the lunar eclipse. This one would be the lunar eclipse. You'd really want to emphasize the moon. But I mean, it's how deep do you want to get with it? But let's talk about the 10. And I think when you were talking about like, what's the point of having all the success, like being at the top of the mountain or the desert, whatever, by yourself, that's a really important thing for us to be considering, because everything is in Capricorn. And as we're seeing here, this 10 comes up again as the moon card for the spread of this eclipse. And 10 is a super interesting number numerologically. And I will just as a disclaimer say that I never studied traditional numerology, but I did study numerology in terms of the cards of truth system. And I always think about the 10 or any 10 card as the Little Prince card. So I don't know if you've ever read that book or if maybe your viewers have read that book, but basically to summarize, it's a beautiful book in any language that you can get it. It's very popular. And it's a story about this kid, this prince that travels around the entire universe, and he finds that he's happiest where he started. Okay. So the 10 is like when you go full circle, you have this whole journey, this whole experience, and you think that the destinations you go to or the goal that you're trying to achieve is it. You're like, yes, it is it. Like, I need to do this thing. And the truth is, like, you actually do need to do this thing. You actually do need to go to that place. You do need to create this masterpiece or write this song or, you know, whatever it is. But the whole point of it is not to do that thing. The point of it is the self-awareness and the appreciation of the starting point that you will gain by taking that journey. Because at the 10, you come full circle and you have this realization of self. It's like we see this in the hero's journey. It's like they travel the galaxy, they come back, and they're finally like, oh, I actually have an understanding of who it is that I am now. Like, I understand that I never actually needed any of that I only needed myself, but I would have never had that awareness had I not gone and done those things. And so I feel like as a collective, we're kind of like, whoa, we tried to reach the height of technology and the height of this and that or the other thing. And like, yeah, it was worth it. But now I think it's like we can kind of tuck in and be like appreciative of just, that starting point. Like it's like being able to see yourself. I don't know how to explain it any better than
Well,
that.
it's
But
like an in-between space between all the way from, like 2 to 9 or ace to 9. And then it's like, then you got the court cards. So right in the middle of those two is the 10. It's like, because it's going to a whole 2-number system, and a computer is ones and zeros. And then once you
yes,
put the 10, you're
exactly.
moving out of the traditional 1 through 9 of numerology, and you're adding numbers. So you're adding power, because 0 to me is a number of Pluto. What it is when you add a 0 to something, right? It makes it into billions or trillions or whatever, or you can times it by 0 and it'll blow it out to 0. That's Pluto. So it's adding and enhancing the numbers and giving it power and giving it an understanding and giving it a knowing with the 1 and 0. That's what computers are based off. But I think it's like, yeah, it's that plateau. It's kind of like that. I have achieved myself an understanding enough to go into the court, like there's that weird
Yes.
kind of in between moment, right? It's like when you get a big job or something, it's kind of like that 9, I feel like, is like you went through it, you did all the things, and then it's like the 10 is kind of, I got the job, now I know what I'm doing, but I also know I'm going to go on to this bigger journey next into the court. Like, whoa, it's like those kind of weird moments in between there, but it's a very big, deep knowing, and it's a completion and a beginning kind of at the same time in many ways.
Exactly, because then you go into Aquarius and Pisces where you have access to the other realm and you can help others and you can feel that connectedness with source as well as connectedness with all, because you truly understand yourself and you truly understand the physical reality that you live in. And so it's like we really do have to think now, like in entering into this new decade, it's like it is like it is the ending of a lot of things. It is the beginning of a lot of things, but also there's great power here. And it's really like, how are we going to use it? And when I looked at the nakshatras of this particular set of eclipses, Mula, which was the Christmas one, and Punarvasu, which is the upcoming one, Mula is about destruction. And Punarvasu is about great fertility, great creativity. And that is like that double-edged sword. There's creativity on one end, there's destruction on the other. And like I was saying, we had the Devil tarot card with the last eclipse with like temptation and all of this. And then this upcoming eclipse, we have the Hierophant, which is like knowing what you're going to do because you have morals and you have beliefs and you're going to stick by them. It's like we are walking on a very thin line. Like you could completely destroy what you've created because you go more into that destructive energy and you fall into the temptation. You start drinking again, you start sleeping around with your neighbor or whatever it is. I don't know, I'm just making up a situation. Or you can use this energy, which is like following your true morals, following your true beliefs, that your inner authority, listening to your intuition finally, which Cancer has been begging you to do. And you can have one of the most creative experiences of your life. You can be adding on those zeros, tuning into that Neptune in Pisces energy, like innovating things with that Uranus and Taurus, and really like changing your whole reality. And it's not by wishful thinking, it's by appreciating who you truly are, your reality, and knowing that you already have all that you need within you and working from there.
Yeah. And I mean, there is a little bit of toughness to this eclipse. The fact that it is a lunar eclipse opposed Saturn and Pluto.
Yes.
And of course the sun, right? And Mercury is going to be right there, smashed in between Saturn, Pluto, Sun during this lunar eclipse. So it's also a lunar eclipse opposed Mercury and Saturn by itself. Those two are already weird, and the sun, and now you're adding Pluto. So that's like, holy moly. I mean, it's really like lopsided, right? It's like the moon's, of course, at its home and dignified, and it's got Rahu there, which actually technically, Rahu and the moon are not best friends at all. So, there is a harshness about it, I think that when you bring it, stepping into that inner authority, right? It's like, staying within those morals, but there's also this weird thing that morals are kind of being rewritten too at the same time. So it's kind of, I think, kind of hard to discern the moral case when it comes to the emotion And when it comes to also making sure that you don't jail yourself into something that maybe some people might be holding on to a moral story that actually is the most, you know, inconclusive thing for their life, because it's not bringing actually anything of true emotion. And it's like, you know, some people can fall morally victim to some sort of unwritten law that actually holds them from feeling life, right? You know, so it's like, this is going to be a very tricky one, because it's a major patience test, one with Saturn, Pluto, Sun, Mercury, Capricorn, Jupiter, South Node. I mean, Capricorn, it's like, these are major times of watching and seeing how steps unfurl, and they're not going as fast. So I think that some of the moral stuff, you know, is like, you know, yeah, it'll happen, things in life, but it's like, you'll notice the things that are happening that are more positive are taking a little bit more time, and they're showing you like checkpoints with it all. It's not just like from 0 to 100 in 1 minute, you know? And Mars and Sag wants that really bad. It's like, I want it to now, and I want to go now. And it's missed the party with Jupiter and Venus conjunction in Sag that happened months ago, and all the Sag energy, right? And there was a new moon that was in Sag just, you know, a month and a half ago. So it's like, you know, Mars is coming into this party that's gone. It's like, oh, I missed everyone that was hanging out here. Jupiter and Venus were here together. They weren't there since 1996, you know, together in conjunction point. So they missed out on the 2007, you know, time. So Mars is like, damn, I just missed the party of a lifetime, and it almost wants it now.
Yeah,
And,
yes.
you know,
I was just going to say, I think one of the biggest issues with this eclipse is people's discernment. You know, people are going to be really wanting others to tell them what to do. They're really like, and I think that that's why a lot of people are going to have success. Like, you know, false teachers will have success because false teachers will be willing to be like, I'll tell you what to do. You know, like, let me just tell you let me create your moral code for you, when really you're actually absolutely right, where it's like, no, our idea of what's morally right or wrong is completely changing, and that's kind of like becoming more personal and individual in terms of like what feels right for each of us. And so it's going to be really hard for people, and it's going to be hard for people to discern who to trust, you know, how to find the right teachers and all of that. And I also think that one of the biggest things that people are going to have to deal with is they're really going to see their own limitations. They're really going to see their fears. They're really going to feel held back. I mean, there's even going to be, I think there is going to be some financial issues happening, like on a pretty big scale. I think it's going to be like people worrying about money, worrying about security. Like really, like our whole concept of security is going to change. And so I do fear, just like as an individual, I kind of see it like the rich getting way richer and the poor getting poorer. And it's super interesting because Mula Nakshatra, which was the last eclipse, that deals with people who have a ton of money. And then Punarvasu Nakshatra it can deal with famous people and rich people, but it also deals with servants. So it's kind of like the servants versus the royalty, right? And where does everyone fit in? And I do feel like that tension is just going to become more and more powerful. And you're going to see that people kind of starting to recognize, like, wait, are we really living in a democracy? Like in the US, are we really living in a democracy, or what is actually happening? And so I feel like, you know, it could just be people redirecting where they want to spend their money, how they're thinking about finances, and there could be some big changes with that as well. So
I mean,
I feel
yeah,
like
100%.
that's part of it.
I mean, I think financial, but I think with people, I think it's also, and this is just coming from seeing all this Capricorn energy. It's like people starting to think the government's doing me wrong. It's like, no, if you look at the way that the system works, it's what you do with it. And I think that's what Cancer reminds you. Like, you choose to make your life comfortable or not. Like, really, I think that, you know, it's like there's a lot of feeling, and that's the illusion of the Capricorn with K2 there. And especially because K2 and you know, is going into Mula Nakshatra, right? And that's actually where K2 does well. That's like K2's nakshatra, one of K2's next nakshatra is actually ruled by that. So, you know, I think that there is something to say about like, you can step into your great life, but it's what you do with this system. And I think that people tend to put it on the outside world where it's really about where it's like, where you find your inner authority. And I think that that's a hard one for people to bite and chew on, because it creates a system where people start to think that they need to change the system and have other people outside them change it for them, which actually in essence are the false people that are here that are going to say that we can fix it for you. We can fix this. We can fix this. And you're going to get probably a worse result, you know, because it's like you're going to be waiting, number one, for a while. And so you're waiting on that externalization of like, when that politician or if that party, whichever party it is, that's the one I associate with, and they're going to fix it. You're just in waiting. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like how long you have to wait before a bill gets passed, or then the next election, or any of that all that stuff is like, so like I've been realizing the more being in business for so long, and, you know, having a corporation for over 5 years, is like you realize that everything is when you're just ready to just step up and just everything is available to you. And you've known me a long time. Like I was really homeless when I built this thing. It wasn't like I was just, you know.
Right. You have to create it for yourself. And and part of that is like accepting where you're at and not trying to wish it away or whatever. It's like, people think that money is going to make them happy or fame is going to make them happy. And maybe it works for some people, but some people, once they do get the money and they do get the fame, they hate it. You know, like I have clients of all types, and it doesn't matter how rich you are, how famous you are, how beautiful you are, like you still are going to have problems. So this is kind of the eclipse that's like, okay, think in the long term, and what kind of problems do you like, you know, the most? Like what kind of problems do you want to have? Because you're going to have problems. So do you want to have problems related to, you know, like real tangible things you can solve, philosophical problems, like pick your poison, because life is always going to be difficult. It could be, you know, your particular brand of difficult if you want it to be. So I do think it's going to be difficult difficult with discernment, but yeah, people.
I want to say, when you bring up, because it's so weird in the cards of truth, it says that not only the moon is at 10 of diamonds,
Yes,
but Jupiter's at ace of diamonds, Venus is at queen of diamonds.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And these are kind of like major parts of this eclipse time, because K2's with Jupiter and K2's at 3 of spades, which is kind of weird, with an ace of diamonds.
Yeah, let me take a look at this. And Mars is, let's see.
8 of spades.
Well, the interesting thing is that everything boils down to this 5 of hearts. Let me check. Well, and that 10 of diamonds is separate, but okay. A lot of this boils down to this 5 of hearts and 10 of diamonds. So the 5 of hearts is actually more empowered than
the place with the heart. Everybody's looking at relationships and like,
Yes, but it's actually good. So the 5 of hearts, when it's good, is like, it's like accepting others for what they are, like not trying to see the good in things, trying to see the good in people. This could be foreign relations too, like trying to see the good, and rather than like, you know, just try to, I don't know, it's like about cooperation in a way. I don't really like the word cooperation for the 5 of hearts, but more it's like trying to see the good in people, like accepting the disappointments where there are disappointments. But yeah, people are going to be thinking a lot about relationships.
I'm just gonna show people it really quick.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking at. So perfect. And that 9 of hearts, which is the ecliptic, which is very, very important for this day, is like that big time compassion. It's like really thinking that we're all connected, we're all one. There's a spiritual purpose. And the 4 of spades, having that inner authority, it doesn't work unless you believe in something greater than yourself. If you have a selfish ego attitude that you're your own God, whatever, there's nothing greater than you, then you're going to suffer. And that I think relates to Saturn and Pluto conjuncting together in Capricorn, is we need to integrate our ego in order to find our authority. And people that are not willing to do that are going to have a hard time stepping into that authority. And we should have learned through all these eclipses in Leo how to be a king, right? So it's like we have learned how to be, like we learned how to be that. We learned how to express ourselves. And so now it's stepping into it fully and leading, and people
What
need to step
about,
up.
since Uranus is coming out of retrograde and turning direct, stationary direct, that 7 of clubs with it is kind of a weird card to me, just because it's a club, but with a 7 in there, which I feel is kind of contradicting a little bit energies.
Well, that Uranus.
No, you're the queen of this. This is your world.
The queen of the cards. The 7, actually, someone called me the first lady of the cards.
I would say you're bigger than the first lady of the cards.
First lady. I was laughing. Okay. The 7 of clubs in the Uranus position is always going to be powerful. And this is about seeing where things aren't working and being honest with it. Like, okay, this just isn't working. It's actually the Tower card in the tarot. So it's like a flash of insight. So this to me with Uranus is like seeing things that aren't working, beliefs that aren't working, your mindset that's not working, an idea that's not working, and being able to innovate around that. Being able to be willing to be like, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong about us using oil for, this, that, and the other thing. Like, we should really switch to electric stuff. Like, I admitted I was wrong. Like, let's try something new. There's this great new innovation. I think it's going to work. It could fail, but let's try it. It's that kind of attitude of like, you know what? This could fail, but I'm willing to admit defeat and move on. Or, you know what? The way that I've been thinking about my business doesn't work. I'm willing to admit defeat. I'm willing to try something new, even if it fails. This is going to be the path for success for the coming months after this eclipse. Like admitting failure, like Australia, I need to admit failure on these fire protocols that I had, because obviously I was wrong, and I'm going to be willing to try something new. So we're all going to kind of have an area of our lives where we're like, okay, you know what? That wasn't working. And I can say that now because 4 of spades, I'm secure in myself. I'm so secure in myself. And I want the best for everything and everyone with that 9 of hearts, that I can admit that I was wrong and let's try something new. And with Pluto being the queen of spades, I'm willing to put forth whatever hard work is necessary in order to bring about a positive result, right? It's like, and we all are going to have to be that in our own lives. And I'm saying, oh, people need to step up. Well, it's like, I'm speaking to myself. I need to step up. Like, where can I personally step up for myself, for my clients, for the world? We have to all ask ourselves that. No one is, too stupid, too timid, whatever. We all need to, everyone's a leader right now.
It reminds me of like the 7 of clubs with this Uranus direct motion is going to be like, okay, all the duct tape and the super glue and everything holding together these values and these things that you're just not ready to move on, that are broken, that you've done everything that you've tried to fix. Like, that's when it just like, you go to sit on the chair and all the duct tape falls apart and the super glue goes, and you're like, are you going to really try and reduct tape that thing and really put more super glue on it? It's like, it's already got so much duct tape on it that you can't even add anything more. It's protruding, it looks like a, it's like, let's get rid of that. Like, let's try something different and move on and go to something better, And I think that's more in alignment in the soul that's going to feel better in life. And, being a club, I kind of know the whole club thing pretty well. It's like, it's like you've got to use your mind and you got to use your intellect a little bit more and see with your mind the truth. Like, there's a lot of truth to it, the spiritual truth at that. And especially with being in Taurus, it's like, don't be afraid of that. And what's weird is Uranus is semi-square to Neptune, which Neptune's at 5 of diamonds, which is a little bit weird because it's almost like, feeling like if it doesn't work, that you're just that you're all ruined, or it's like sorrow of the feeling of like you've been, I don't know, that, you know, well, nothing ever will become good to me then. If this didn't work and I tried everything and I used all the super glue I had and I used it's like, maybe that's not going to define your value and your worth. It's not going to define that you're some piece of crap or something, or you've been given a bad hand. It's like, don't buy into this kind of illusion that, you know, nothing beautiful can come in your life because something didn't work. I think it's like getting over this inner poverty that you feel God has given you. Not even talking financial, although that could come up during this time. But it's like, I think it's like you no longer need to run your mind in circles around this devaluing yourself because the super glue broke on something that was already broken. We've all done it. We've all taken a pair of sunglasses that we spent a lot of money on, broke the fucking side of it, and did everything we could, went to CVS, bought the little kit, and bought some super glue, and we're like, oh, it works, it fits. And then you maybe go a day or two, and then it breaks, and you're at some event, and you feel like, oh, God. It's like, did you have to go through all that? Maybe yes, to realize that now, when something breaks like sunglasses, I go, okay, fuck, I gotta just bite the bullet and maybe save for a week to go buy the sunglasses I want. And that doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, you know?
Exactly. I completely agree with that. And I do think that the areas of life that this could impact will definitely be financial. So the financial realm will have a lot of restructuring, dealings with your close family, like your birth family. You're going to be like seeing where things aren't working. You don't know if you can fix that relationship or if it's even worth it anymore. Friendships could be impacted, especially close friendships, and businesses, as well as I want to come back to that, but I was also looking at the Five of Hearts, and I just also saw Saturn is combust. So there will be, I think, some breakups and things happening and people really considering like, is this the right relationship for me? But I think that's going to mostly or more so happen with friendships. A lot of people that are going to disconnect from different friendships because they just aren't working and they're just not fitting right and it's not feeling right. And it's like, you know, you try to help the person or you try to, you don't see eye to eye on things. Like there's always like a disconnect with your beliefs. Like you see the world this way, I see the world the other way. Like, I don't know if it really makes sense for us to hang out because it's just uncomfortable. So you might find yourself disconnecting from, you know, like cleaning out your social media list or not talking to somebody anymore, things like that. But financial things, friends, close family.
I think it's also doing with partnerships too, in the sense that the Saturn Pluto was in Libra.
Well, and partnerships. Yeah.
And then Venus is, well, I mean, I think that it's even bigger that just understanding what's coming in 2020 with a Venus retrograde with the North Node that's shifting into Gemini, and then a Mars retrograde in Aries, its home sign, going to square all this out. Like, it's like if you start to premonition or prophesize your future in yourself, you can feel upcoming that there's a lot of, you know, beauty, but there's also going to be a lot of uncertainty in a lot of places. So it's like, you don't want to have that uncertainty in your partnership role. And I think Queen of Diamonds, even though I think for relationships, she can be a little bit, you know, like, oh gosh, not good enough. But I think that it is something to say of like, with that Five of Hearts, Saturn, I think it's kind of, especially that Saturn is part of this opposition to the moon there, and it's with Pluto. I think that there's a lot of this being like, you know, yeah, there's a lot of questions. And if there are questions and you're trying to fix something that you've already tried to fix before and keep using the super glue and it's still missing something, you know, it's like, why go into this year with a Venus retrograde and a Mars retrograde year, a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction? You know, last time we had Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn like this was in 1960 when JFK was elected. Nobody thought in the world that he would win, right? He was the youngest president to ever run. he was basically, you know, kind of like a nobody. He was like a young senator who went on the ground running, and he ran against Nixon, who everybody was like, yeah, Nixon's going to win. And it was the first televised debate. And there's something to say about also JFK's relationship with Jackie. It was like, oh my gosh, this thing looks so beautiful and right, when, ha ha ha. Like, the truth is that the pool that used to be at the White House is gone now, because JFK used to send her away when he became in the White House and play with all the girls that were worked at the White House at the pool. And then he went and hung out with Marilyn Monroe. And we all know that she didn't come out of that birthday cake. You know what I mean? Like, to just say happy birthday, Mr. President, you know? So
right.
There's something to say about these times and reenacting a lot of different aspects. I mean, I'm just going to be real too. Do we really think that Trump and Melania are having sex? Like, let's just be real here for a second.
Right.
Not trying to put down a president or anything like that, but just viewing and feeling. Or I look at Jay-Z and Beyonce. I'm like,
okay, there was like a conspiracy that she wasn't even really pregnant. Like, she was just wearing like
honestly, I wrote my mag and I looked at all of her stuff and I looked at his, and I even called on BET in 2014 that in 2015 and 16 you'd see weird stuff coming out, and then he cheated on her, and then they made an album, made a bunch of money on it, and like, it's just a show. And I think that show relationships now are done.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a perfect prediction for that card.
Right? It's like,
absolutely,
no longer can you run the gamut anymore. You can't run the wheeler kind of dealer energy, like, oh yeah, like fucking and keep the charade up anymore. And that also was ironic, because that was kind of how JFK got in the White House, was not only using his wife and how she dressed and her fashion and having the kid, right? Like, it was like, right, it was like this like perfect like setting, when really, and if you look it up, he was getting injected with barbiturates and amphetamine every day in the White House, and steroids, because he had an autoimmune disorder.
Wow.
But then going out and fucking around with the girls at the pool with his brother, and sending Jackie to go do first lady things. So that's why I said you're definitely not the first lady of cards, you know? I don't like that term, because I feel like it's always underneath somebody higher. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, that's right.
And she got sent away. And that's true story. It's in all the records, and I've done extensive research on this. And, you know, Jupiter, Saturn is they have to work together because they're next to each other, right? It's like, I feel that when Saturn comes through Jupiter sign, it's like, okay, before I go lay down the law, maybe I should get a better understanding of where everybody's at and a bigger perspective of the world. So at least I'm not going to be unfair and unjust. And then I feel that when Jupiter comes into Saturn sign, it's like, okay, I just came in my sign. I got all these big ideas. I got all these big grand plans of my vision. But, you know, Saturn right away is going to teach me about making sure that I have a stable understanding and a plan to make sure that it works and that it's efficient. So I don't feel like Jupiter and Saturn together is a negative thing. I think it's an extremely positive thing. They both are next to each other, and they both are here to help each other. And they happen to be in Saturn's world, but I feel that for Jupiter, this is a time where it can get anything that it really wants done, and finally actually make it real. I mean, this is where we can make big things come true, but you got to deal with the reality. I think Saturn's like, whoa. You really think you can bring that false this or that false relationship or that false interior of your self-worth that you keep projecting out, or this false sense of you're only going to feel accomplished and fulfilled by having some sort of title or having some sort of idea of what that looks like with, you know, like there's no fulfillment there. Like, that's not a good plan, you know? And,
right.
Yeah.
And what can be manifested might take a long time, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And you know, or it's just about hard choices. Like, this is a hard choice to not have this. I'll let you go. I always look at Saturn as like just like a toll booth person, or even like a immigration person at the border, like the driver one, you know, where you just like, let me see your passport, like ask you a couple questions. Where are you going? Where are you from? Like, and if it feels weird, it's like, pull over to the side. Let's like investigate you a little bit more, especially with Pluto there. You got to remember too. Pluto on top of Saturn is an FBI agent hanging out with the judge. They're working together on a court case on your plan, and whether or not it's really good. That's the kind of freaky part of Pluto and Saturn, is we're all being watched, number one. But then number two, we're all being watched by our karmic energies, and whether or not we're going to pass some sort of major karmic test here when it comes to authenticity, which I think the moral code that's being rewritten that never is rewritten, I guess, a better way to put it, the moral code that is never rewritten is just the integrity of your karma and knowing your truth and knowing that you are powerful within your authenticity of yourself. Like, that's it. Like, no more of that, like kind of, well, I'm not really that person, but I'm going to be this person, or I really am not this person, so I'm going to be with that person because it's giving me some sort of advancement, or it's giving me some sort of sense of security, even though I'm still not fully feeling that it's authentic in a way. It's like, this is not going to work anymore. And the case is going to come on you, and you're going to have to be up there and stand on the stand and be like, so, and you can't bullshit at the evidence anymore, right? Like, I've been seeing and noticing with a lot of people that it's like, when called upon actions or things that people do right now, it's like this throwing every like pasta on the wall that they can throw, instead of just owning what it really is within side of truth and projecting it outside. But it just is so easy to see. It's like flinging shit out on everybody, and that's not gonna work, because everybody's gonna see the shit. I think people used to be able to throw it and it would get in our eyes. We go, oh, I can't see it. What was that? Where did it come from? It's like, no, we see where it comes from now. And
Right.
I think it's a beautiful moment. I think it's a beautiful time. And I think that the Four of Spades, as you put earlier, was, yeah, this isn't about like trying to become, you know, this greedy, like I have to have it this way. I think that there's a beautiful part of allowing this to be, you know, we all have our needs and our wants, which is really extreme, I would say, right now with all the Cancer and Capricorn, but it's for a tree to build of our life. And trees are not built by greed ever. They're cut down by greed. But it's like, I think that to grow this great tree right now, it's like, it's where is the place where you're seeing the signs, the checkpoints, the authenticity and the beauty that really sees you and you see yourself in the ultimate light and the ultimate love and the ultimate understanding. We all go through crazy shit. We've all been through it. So it's like, this is a moment for everybody to truly find the beauty, the love, and the spirit within that, and go on that quest, go on this inner emotional, you know, deeper spiritual quest that will create a reality on its own without worrying so much about how the reality is going to turn out. Because if we do our inside work, our outside work is going to be easy. I think that we've already been in doing the inside work for so long that this is where we make the inside work the imaginative, beautiful truth.
And
Reality,
that,
you know?
no, that, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt you, but when you're saying this inner work thing, it really relates a lot to the Four of Spades being in the Tarot, the Four of Swords. So that would be probably the tarot card I would most likely relate the Four of Spades to. And you've seen the Four of Swords before. It's a guy laying down and there's some swords above his head, but he's just like, so he almost looks dead. He's like so peaceful. Yeah. He's like, laying there like this. And so it's like about being able to take that break and go within and quit putting so much energy outward, and exactly what you're saying. So it's like, take a break, rest, like go within, do the work. And you were saying, like everything you were saying makes sense with the cards as well, with the 8 of spades being there. It's like, when you do that inner work, the 8 of spades happens naturally. Things start to manifest naturally. You do not need to sit there. You do not need to make a vision board. Like, this is actually not the time for any of that. The time that we have now is best for going within, taking that break, cutting out all the bullshit, like just stopping. Like, okay, like I said, no spending or not doing something. It's like more about saying no with the Lover's card. Like, no, this isn't working, that isn't working, rather than saying yes to a bunch of things and going after these different things at any cost. So you found it.
Golden Tarot version.
It's beautiful. So yeah, also I would say for this eclipse, if you are tired, you just want to take a nap, you just want to lay in bed, like this would be the ideal time to just take a break, take a vacation. I actually am supposed to be taking a very short vacation with one of my best friends on this eclipse day.
Tell me that.
It would be perfect, right? So it's like doing different things that are like not doing. It's like the opposite, which is interesting because Capricorn is like do. But with this eclipse, it's kind of like, well, let's see how we can do better by allowing ourselves to not do anything. You know, like what is the result of that? How does that feed back into my work? And like I was saying, a lot of, for me, has been like working through emotional stuff, emotional healing relationships, friendships, but only through like just silence and being by myself and finding that inner security of who I am. So I understand, okay, well, I know who I am now. Now I know what to do, even if my parents didn't instill the best morals in me, or my church didn't, or my school didn't. Because I know who I am, I know what my moral code is, and now I can move forward. Like finding your answers to what you should do in your life based off of that, rather than, okay, finally I found the right book to tell me what to do, or the right teacher. It's like more like, if you're going to use astrology or tarot or the cards of truth as a tool, using it for self-understanding more than like asking, okay, well, what should I do next in my life? You know, what should I buy? What should I wear? It's more like, wait, ask who you are. Right.
Yeah, it's like too, if you think about Cancer and Capricorn with the 4 swords, it's like that's the mix of both. It's the resting, but there's the honors. There's like the honoring of your life, like, because usually it's a soldier that's actually in the what would be a coffin, actually in the original Rider-Waite, that it's like before battle, you go in the coffin, you thank your family, you remind yourself, like, if I don't come home, I'm going to be laying in this dead. And so there's an honoring, there's a beautiful mental, it's like one of the only swords that is not crazy in many ways, right? Like it actually is taking the time to use the mind to connect with the emotional foundational elements. And it's a beautiful one because it's like honoring the life you have. And then if you win the battle and you come back, it's also where you rest. And it's also where you go, I am in appreciation that I survived. I could have been dead in this thing right now. And it's the same thing with when we go to bed and when we wake up every morning. When you wake up every morning and you're alive in your bed, thank the Lord, you're alive. You woke up. You have another day. Same
and
thing
that's enough.
You know, and that's enough. That's everything. That's like,
the mantra is like, this is enough. Like, I don't need to be the #1 best-selling author. Like, I don't need to be the hottest supermodel. I don't need to have whatever. I don't need to have the longest hair, whatever it is. Whatever it is right now that you have, it's enough. And I really, really, truly love that description you just gave of the 4 of Swords. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, because I think that when you look at life, whether it's job, relationship, anything right now, it's like, where can it just be in that space where you're just so thankful and so appreciative and just so in the moment and just appreciating that as what it is without all these other major layers on top of it? Well, it's because we have this and then we have that and we have that and we have that and we have that. Sure, those things are a knowing that are possible, but it's like not the main focus. The main focus is the connection, the love, the beauty of whatever you're connecting to in your creativity and your career life, just in your own spiritual self, your connection to God right now. your ascending life, the world that we're in, the appreciation of nature. Everything right now is at that centristic, beautiful core nucleus of the love and the beauty. That's, if you just go there and just stay in that space, it's almost like there's natural karma that Pluto is a receiver. Pluto is where we receive. We're here to receive karma, but we can only receive in a space where we're filled up, ready to receive, instead of empty and like begging. It's begging. This is a time where people will beg. This is a time where people will like go off to dire straits to get what they need, instead of realizing it's like, you don't have to do that. There's peace within this time, and it's love, and it's emotion, and it's depth, and it's that the wisest person right now on the planet, or the ultimate gurus, are those that are connecting with love and emotion and connection and appreciation on the deepest level, and honoring the universe and karma as it is, and allowing that to be the control factor, instead of us being the almighty controller of things. You know, like, we are not needing to grab the controls of the video game right now so hard, like, you know, but it's about, I think, aligning, which is just like, you'd think that would be control, but it would be like, where does my emotion and my intuition and my center feel pulled in a direction that I know is going to bring me to that beautiful, harmonious, very, very beautiful space, and just going into that space and going to that place. This is going to bring up where people have walls, blocks, right?
Yes.
So like, you can go through the block by actually just loving the block.
Right.
But,
like, you have to go through, like, and that's the thing too. I was saying this to my friend, like, you have to go through it. You can't go around it.
no.
Like, you have to go through it now, but it's also easier than you think, because with the Six of Hearts as well, like, as we work through our emotional challenges, we can be so fulfilled. Like, that's the key word for that card, is emotional fulfillment. Like, you can really find deep happiness. So it's actually really beautiful. And I was thinking while you were talking as well that it is thinking about, like, okay, whatever we have is enough. And I feel like this whole minimalist thing that's been leading up to now is maybe going to die off a little bit, where it's not going to be so extreme. Like, minimalism was like a response, like a very extreme response to like capitalism and people buying tons of stuff. But I feel like now people are just going to be like, no, I'm going to appreciate what I have. I'm going to work with what I have and see what I can make out of it. And that's where that Uranus stationing, I believe, is just about great innovation with like what we already have, you know, like,
Totally.
you know, oh, I need to wear a dress for this party on Sunday. Well, I don't have a dress, but I have these 3 shirts. And if I just sew them together, like thinking like this, rather than thinking about, okay, well, I just need to play the game of the world where I have to go get a job and make more money so I can buy that dress so that I can look this certain way. Like, that's where the innovation and the connecting with your reality as being enough will, you know, work with the structure to kind of reinvent the structure, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of power there.
A lot. I was going to say, I was just watching Netflix. They just did the World War II documentaries in color, like and so they redid everything. And when Uranus was in Taurus, they were trying to figure out ways to put tanks on beaches to go into basically France years before D-Day, when Uranus actually went into Gemini. But it was interesting in Uranus and Taurus, they were messing around with like the weirdest tanks in the world, like taking what they already had and adding like weird things to it to like see if it can get on the beach from the water. Like, it was like the weirdest stuff you've ever seen in your life, but then they figured it out. You know, so it was like not about building something completely new. It was about taking what you already have and making it better and appreciating what they had. So it was like not about just like, you know, oh, we need a flying saucer to go in there. You know what I mean? That was like, no, we have this. And how do we, how can we appreciate what we have and actually use it to a new space we've never been before too, right? Like, it's like, like this room, you've been here. It's different, right? Like, it's not like I had to go tear down the whole fucking building and tear down the room. right? Like, it's like we all did here at High Vibe, we're like, oh, like we should make a lounge out of this place and keep the green screen, and it could be a place to film. Oh, at one time, I was like,
Okay,
oh, yeah.
I literally just realized which room it was. I was like trying to figure it out. Now
This is
I'm
where
like,
you and Alyssa filmed. Right there is where you guys filmed the tarot, your guys' tarot thing, and there used to be the bar there. Now that's for the ticket bar for when you come to the event.
yeah.
So
Oh,
now
it looks better. This is better.
Yeah, it's way cooler. And then we can do VR in here, right here. So then everybody's doing VR and having a time, and we watch the content here. So it's like a powwow of creativity in here now, opposed to a room that was just kind of like, okay, I'm in this room.
Yeah, you didn't have a space like that at all. So
yeah, it was all business here. There was no like chill, fun area. But I think that that's the beauty of what this eclipse kind of is showing too. Cycle is like, what do you already have that you can make fucking amazing?
Like plastic. That's going to be one thing where people are going to be like, what do we do with this plastic?
Yeah.
Like we've already created so much of this and it's horrible. How can we use that? And I think even like, I don't know, I'm just going to say it. I'm not sure if this is going to come true, but even like with buildings, you know, like more renovation rather than new buildings, and like using old building materials, things like that, that could definitely be something that happens as a result of this eclipse, because based off of people's beliefs. So
This
like beliefs are going to play people. There you go. It looks brand new.
I know. People would think like, damn, Leo King went out and da-da-da. I didn't even get this. It was like Craig who found this thing in the trash or something like that. I was like, oh.
I think this was in the trash. This surfboard.
Yeah. So Fox, somebody's trash right now, and that could even be relationship wise, is somebody's biggest prize. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, that was trash to somebody, but fucking to me, like this thing, I'm like, actually, I kind of like this thing. Fucking fits me pretty well.
It's great.
So I think that that's the beautiful part of all this, and then just appreciating that. And especially I think with animals right now and adoption of animals and stuff like that, I think that this is a great time for those kind of things. It's like, I think animals and connection and all this Cancer energy, like whenever we're taking care of something, you don't want to take, I think, care of something that you can't handle, right? Like being too charitable or too nursey might be too much right now. But when we're taking care of somebody or taking care of something, it's those moments that actually all the fear is gone in the world. Like, because that Cancer nurturing nature in yourself and to be nurtured back. This is part of, I think, what is so important right now. And I think it's like, it could be as easy as every day feeding the birds outside, like being like, oh gosh, you know what? Like, I'm going to go get the seed every month. Like, we go buy seed for cheap, or you just go buy some sunflower seeds and eat them yourself, but pops them out to some of the birds, whatever. It's that little bit that right there is everything right now. And I think people are so focused on the big things. It's like, no, the big thing is actually right there. That's what will give you everything. It'll blow your mind.
Right. I was eating a piece of sourdough bread and a grapefruit 2 days ago, and I was sitting there like, oh my God, this is so good. Oh my God. Like I was like overdoing it, but it was so good. And my boyfriend walked up to me and he's like, really? He's like, if I knew that a piece of bread and a grapefruit made you this happy, I would have been doing things a lot differently.
Yeah. There you are. See?
It's like, it's true. Like these little tiny things, like I don't need, you know, maybe like going on some luxury vacation somewhere would feel great, but the simple things, they can feel great also. So
yeah, so I think this is great. I know you have a really new course coming out, a new school right now, right?
Yes, I do. So on January 16th, which is coming up, we are going to be starting a 12-week tarot course. And if you want to get a certification and you want to complete a really big project with the support of me, doing coaching and really working with you one-on-one, you can join for 4 additional weeks, which would be a 16-week course. So that begins on January 16th, and there are still seats available. So I don't know if you put the link below, but it's Nicole Brenny. Yeah, NicoleBrenny.com/tarot. I'm so excited for this course because I'm basically trying to set up all my students to be able to just do this. Like try to give them everything I've learned about tarot for the last 20 years so that they can do readings, because I've been doing readings for so long. I might eventually stop doing them, but I want there to be people that know what I know. And I want there to be good readers out there and people that actually have a strong foundation and could start a business or to integrate it into their art, whatever it is. So it's like, it seems like really simple, like a tarot course, but it's going to be as intense, as one-on-one, as personal as I can make it. Like I really want to get to know my students and all that. So
that's beautiful.
That's happening.
And I know, because I've worked with you a long time. I mean, we've been talking for years and doing the work together, and I can vouch for Nicole. And especially even if you just want a reading from her, because she does so many different things. Not only is she an astrologer and a tarot reader, but she does add that element of the cards of truth. And she's also an intuitive. I'm just going to, you don't like to own that, but you are.
Well, before I read tarot, I was just doing like readings of people. Like I just knew things and would say it. And I started reading tarot because I was scaring people. So I thought, okay, if I have the tarot, then people will be less scared because it's the card saying it and not me.
Right.
So yeah, and that, like what I was kind of doing today, like I started doing tarot. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I actually haven't been studying the cards that long, but because I had the foundation of tarot, I like learned them very quickly. I got really obsessed. I devoted like several years to just the cards, and like I'm in the middle of writing books about the cards and things like that. That's how deep I've gone with them. And I am going to teach the Cards of Truth class one last time. I might offer it in a different format in the future, but I will be doing the full 22-week course that I've already done twice, that has sold out twice. Like I sold it out both times, 2 times. That is starting in April. So you can learn that too. And if people are like, I don't know if I should do one or the other, honestly, just go with your gut. But I use the tarot in the Cards of Truth, as you saw today. Like everything that I've ever learned about the tarot, I apply to the Cards of Truth. I use these systems together. I use astrology, tarot, and the Cards of Truth in all of my readings, or most of my readings. And yeah, I mean, they're all amazing systems and they all can work together. And especially the cards and tarot, they're like completely linked. So
yeah, they are. And with the astrology too, which is crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, especially like the Cards of Truth is like an astrology chart.
It is. I mean, and you know, people kind of got to see a little bit of like how much there is. I mean, I don't know if they probably saw the whole entire, like there's progressions of day, there's progressions of the week, and there's progressions of every 52 days. There's so much, and there's so much about the cards and the people in your life that will show up on the day of the card. And you teach people in all the stuff that you do, you know, when you go into that Cards of Truth school and stuff, that's really, I think, really mastery level stuff. It really is. It's a lot. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go into Cards of Truth and I'll figure it out in a day. Yeah, right. It's like, you got to know astrology really good. You got to know not only all the cards too and how they work, but then you got to know there is so much. Like myself, I've been just like, oh my gosh, like there's 7-year progression. There's this every 7 of the 7 planets, and where you are not only in your progressed year, but of the planet that you've progressed and what card you have and what, I mean, it's just like, whoa. And then you go into the next level of the deck every 7. I'm like, what the, okay. Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot. And I don't think you can teach yourself. And when I do the 22.
In anything, you need a teacher.
Right.
Like a mentor. I've been mentored by so many astrologers, and I've always proudly said them too. That's the other thing that's going around the spiritual community I cannot stand right now, is all these people are learning things and not giving credit to their mentors. You've always given credit to your mentors. I know I have. I know other older astrologers and other people in this community do, but there's a lot. That's how you're going to tell the frauds right now, is they will never mention their mentor. They will never say where they were mentored.
No, they'll say it's channeled, or they'll be like, yeah, I connect with my teacher on this planet.
Like, oh yeah, right, yeah.
Okay,
like,
well, I did teach myself tarot, but that took me 20 years, or it was.
Of course, and then you were around other, you were doing it, and you were around other people, but you were mentored in astrology, and I feel like once you've learned and been mentored in astrology, tarot becomes way more like, like there's something about astrology that clicks the tarot fully into gear. I don't know.
Well, you start to like tap into, I don't know what it is. It's like you start like having crazy dreams and everything, and you're like downloading information. I don't know. Studying spiritual stuff is so intense, like not in a scary way, but like you really, when you start to learn this stuff, like with a teacher, especially, it's like you're connecting with your teacher on a subconscious level all the time. It's like, I don't like, I'm sure some of you have taken classes with people like in person versus online, or just been around someone, like just hung out with somebody for a week. It's like you naturally start to take on their energy, and like it's a beautiful, crazy thing. So I always feel like I have a very close connection with my students. I always appreciate every single one of them, and well, hopefully they think that I do, because I do. But it's a beautiful thing. And basically, just like to go back to the tarot card and the tarot card course, I'm kind of just wanting to give all of my knowledge away. Like I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm like, I don't have any ego about it anymore. I'm like, I just want to give it all away, because I want to move on to whatever's next with it. And maybe that's not doing readings anymore. Maybe that's like some other crazy tarot related thing. But I just want people to know what I know, and to be able to do what I do, and have successful businesses or whatever, and empower themselves through the cards. Because without tarot, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this stuff. I wouldn't have probably met you. I wouldn't be living here. I wouldn't have connected with all my clients, and it's been life-changing. And I want other people to have that experience, because I feel like secure enough within myself, Four of Spades, to be able to share that and to connect in that way. So
Totally.
And also when I start the class, I have like really, really amazing transits.
You're smart. You do plan that kind of stuff really well.
Yeah, I mean, it was like an intuitive planning, and then I double checked everything, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be, I think it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be intense. Like, I'm going to make sure everyone knows how to read, and yeah, it's a great way to learn about who you are. Cards of Truth as well. You really get to learn about yourself. It's about each of the students and not about me. That's why I do not sell the recordings of my classes, because it's so personal, and you can open up, because the information is not leaving the classroom. So
yeah, it's like you're getting real deep and personal.
Yeah.
And it's like there's that other element that you add, is that not only do you know Western, but you know Vedic, but then you know all the nakshatra systems, and not only do you know them in sidereal, but you know them in moving them into tropical. So it's
yes,
like, you're one of the very few hybrids out there. I'm not one of them, so I'm not going to own that title. But you are one of those very few. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of you. I feel I've even had conversations with you about this. I'm like, your crew of people that are in that hybrid, moving the nakshatra system to tropical and using the Vedic principles and stuff. Wow. Like, not a lot of you around.
No, and it's intense. And so if you're taking the tarot card course, don't worry about astrology at all. And with the Cards of Truth, don't worry about astrology at all, because I'll teach you what you need to know.
Yeah.
But all of the people that are following you are following Western astrology. So your birth charts will make complete sense with the Cards of Truth system. It's like the pure Vedic astrology people that are going to take my Cards of Truth course, and they're going to have to adapt and kind of learn about their Western placement. So I feel like your crew of your followers, it'll make complete sense to them once I teach them how to read it,
I wouldn't bring my crew with anybody on the channel unless I thought that they would get it. You know what I mean?
They're ready. They have a good background. And even if you literally, for whatever reason, have just stumbled upon this video, you have no background with tarot or the cards or anything, like I try to make my classes accessible to everyone. So you don't have to worry. And also, I always have to tell my students when they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you signed up for this class. Like, I'm teaching you how to do it. Like, why would you take a class and like be an expert at it just so you can show off? Like, you're there to learn. And I hope that people don't put that pressure on themselves, you know? That's what I'm saying. That's what this eclipse is about, is like self-acceptance. Like, this is where I'm at and I'm going to work from here. I'm going to be with my reality. I'm going to accept that I'm not perfect. This Pluto and Saturn, like, I'm just going to accept that I'm a person with flaws and fears, and there's obstacles in my life, and I'm going to allow myself to use them to help me move forward. And that might be, you know, step by step, au fur et à mesure, but it's going to be eventually taking me to the top of the mountain. And that's not even the end goal. Basically, we're realizing that's not even the end goal.
Right. No,
right?
It's about integration. Whatever system we're using now, I think that they're all relevant. I'm using Vedic Mahadasha systems, and there's a lot of them actually. But in sidereal in Vedic form, while I'm using Western, while I'm even listening to people like you or Vic, or, you know, and like taking that, I'm like at a place where I'm like, and then I'm using Chinese, and then I'm using Tibetan principles of the lunar cycle that I learned through Michael Erlewine. He's got amazing books for free online, by the way, everybody. Another mentor of mine in my life. You know, it's like all about always spreading the message of other people. And that, you know what, and the real spirituality and the real spiritual community shares the wisdom and is not afraid to give away where they learned it all from, and to give those persons the honors they deserve. You know, it's like, oh, that's been my number one gripe. Ugh.
Well, I've seen people do that too, and I'm like, it disappoints me, you know, like knowing your life and knowing your influence on others. So I
wasn't even talking about me. I was just saying, seeing it.
I've seen it happen to you.
I know, usually it would be about me, my Leo ship, but I have been so humbled in 2019 where I'm like, my Leo is just here to love, and that's it at the moment. And I love myself, but not to the extent to where I'm like, not going to go try and battle at the moment. I mean, I'm not perfect, so I know that side of me will come out again. But I am saying that I'm just saying in the community, I'll be like, this person hasn't mentioned one thing about where they learned this or who they did it from or any of that shit. Or there's no videos with their mentor anywhere. Like, you have videos with one of your greatest mentors, Ernst.
I have videos with all of them, I think.
All of them, yeah. And
I think
the same with me. It's like I have interviews with all of my mentors, all of them.
I mean, I just, because I'm so grateful. Like, when you're so grateful for what people teach you, you can't help but hear that.
Sorry. My Skype.
Actually, I have a Western astrologer that I learned from, and I have an interview with her that I have to still put up on my channel, but I just haven't because my YouTube has been so messed up.
Yeah, you got to get, I'm just going to say, and take your time in life, but I am also saying, people all want you back out there, Nicole, with some YouTube stuff. So I'm calling you out. You got to keep pushing it out there. You don't need to push hard, but
I'm coming back. The internet guy. The internet guy is supposed to come this week, and I've been battling the internet people, but they should be here any moment. I'm moving into a beautiful new place with an ocean view. I'll take you guys all along so you can see what that's all about. And, you know, things are good. Like, 2020 is going to be good. It's a 1 year for me numerologically. So it's like new beginnings, new year, new me.
I've been telling people that this is the ultimate surrender to fate and destiny, and to just let Creator and God, right? Creator God, just open the show and just show up humbled and ready and willing and following God's guidance and intuition and pull, and follow love, follow emotion, don't sit in a barren desert of, I'm not talking to you, I'm just saying overall, right? It's like, people out there, don't go into a barren desert of, it reminds me of, like, you know, like Wolf of Wall Street, or like any of that kind of life right now. It reminds me, because I've been a club DJ my whole life and a raver, like, you know, like, you know, that life right now, you know, I think that the community element is there, but I think that the whole, like, trying to be the king of popularity right now, or like the king or queen of like, oh, I'm only cool because I got a table, and like, did you even really want that, or did you have the money for that? Like, it's like, or was it just to try and impress somebody? It's like right now the deepest impressions are of the heart and the emotion, because everybody's been battered and everybody has a thick wall up and a thick skin at this moment. And if you can find a way to get that off of somebody to feel, that's bigger than any way to impress anybody in the world right now.
It is so true, and you're so right, and I agree with you.
Well,
definitely agree with you. And
check you out. Where's the website? NicoleBrenny.com.
NicoleBrenny.com. Listen to the Stars YouTube channel. Also, I've been surfing a lot, and photographers are starting to take photos of me. So if you follow my Instagram, you might see some cool surf photos.
Dang, you're gonna have a reef ad soon.
Right. No, I had to paddle through some jellyfish today, but a photographer got a shot of me.
Portuguese man of wars out there?
No. Oh. I got stung like 5 times today though, and it's pretty painful, but like when you get stung. Huh?
Did you pee on it?
No, you don't. That's a myth.
It's not a myth.
I thought it was a myth. I don't know. No, you're supposed to like, I think you're supposed to take a piece of Scotch tape and like take out the little things.
Pee on it.
No.
I'm not joking. That's what we learned out here on the beach. Just pee on it. You just pee on it.
I didn't pee on my arm, but it doesn't really hurt anymore.
Take a little cup of pee and
also, my light keeps coming on and off because it's dark here now, and it's like a motion sensitive.
I'm in a timeless space where I never know what time it is.
I live by the sun.
I know. Well, I'm just saying when I'm in this room, I'm like,
there's no windows in that room.
No windows in this room. And I'm totally in LED light and computers. And I'm like, I don't know what time it is. Yeah. But
it's cool being in spaces like that though. Like I do enjoy that because you're like in the zone and you're just like working and.
Yeah. For my 5 of clubs, it's like, I don't need any other distractions. I just need whatever's distracting me here.
Yes.
You know, so.
That's definitely a 5 of clubs room. I know from experience.
So,
yeah.
Well, so, and I just want to tell people that, you know, Nicole has shifted me a lot. There's been a lot of ways, not only in our astrology talks, our tarot talks, but when you combined and really, because I had known about the cards of truth as destiny cards. I had the books. I always knew I was a 5 of clubs for like 15 years. And I had one of my good friends, Kara, who had the old book and would like pull it out and like do the whole thing and be like, you're this year in this card. I'm like, okay. And then she would give me like a little thing. So I always knew about it. But you're the one who really was like lit up the light for me and showed me that it was way deeper than I ever could have imagined. And I still have more to do with it, with you and research and knowledge. But it, in my opinion, and this might sound like I'm crazy, but when you combine that with an astrology reading and a tarot reading, the most dead accurate stuff comes to that cards of truth, like blows my mind.
It is crazy. You know what we should do? Like, okay, you're good like teaching yourself cards of truth, but I should we should trade tutoring. You can teach me more about the Western astrology. I'll teach you the cards of truth. Because I feel like if you just knew a few things, you would be like, you're getting there. But
right, I know. I
need to know more.
I need the whole,
like, because you don't even know, like you're saying how much you love it, but you don't even know yet what's possible. And I'm seeing it for you, and I'm like, okay, you need to like do it.
Yeah, well, I feel that it's good. I think that even with you, it's like, I think that you're going to take it to new places. I think that the cards of truth is like this infant ready to grow into this wise adult. I already think it is wise, but I'm just saying that I feel that for the future and where we're going, it's a necessary understanding of time and helping understand the astrology in a whole nother light. And I feel that I know it's been around a long time, but at the same time with the software, with the way that you can look at things, I think compatibility wise, holy cow. So I have a question for you about that right before we go. Please. So if you run compatibility in Cards of Truth and you have like a lot of the same cards, they're just maybe in just different, of course, planets, but then you run somebody that you have no cards together, right? Like none. Is there something to say about people that you have cards that are similar with that feel more connected than ones that have no cards at all?
Absolutely. I mean, it's because that's like kind of the energy that we are. Like if you think of it as like different frequencies or rays of light, like so we're kind of vibrating on the same frequency, but you will find that you might be really attracted to somebody that's not really your type when you are running a card spread in your 7-year progression or your year progression that matches their energy, that is their natal energy or just the energy of who they are at that time. So like you could both have really nothing to do with the 7 of Spades energy. It's not in your birth card spread, it's not in her birth card spread, but 7 of Spades is the card of your year and the 7 of Spades is her Jupiter card. And so it's like you guys are connecting because you are really experiencing similar things. So you might have had relationships like that. I definitely personally have. Like I met this one guy where he was completely getting rid of his previous life and I was moving away from my home city that I had lived in forever. And so we were both like we were like totally different. He was like a multimillionaire and I was like the poorest person in the world. But like we had so much in common because we were going through the exact same things at the exact same time. So it was like, there was no way that we wouldn't have met just because we were literally learning the same lessons at the same time, no matter how opposite we were. And we were complete opposites, like in every single way. But it was just that moment in time where it was like, okay, well, you guys can both learn a lot about like reestablishing a new life because that's what you're going through. So you're going to find that by studying the 7-year progression and the year progression. Right. And more and like, yeah.
When you do the compatibility and you look at it and then you run the Davison stuff and then you get your own spread between both people. And then you get your own 7-year progression, then you get your own 52-day cycle of the relationship. You get your own day relationship. You even get your own fucking hours in the day.
Yes.
Like, but my question was, so if somebody, so I got what you said, but it's like literally like natal cards, like most of the same natal cards, just different planets, but same cards. Like
that's a close connection. That's a very close connection. And also sense. Like for instance, even just you as my friend. So you actually have the exact same birth card as my boyfriend and one of my ex-boyfriends, right? So it's like 5 of Clubs is in my Venus position. Venus is relationships. Venus also rules my 7th house. So like I'm going to attract a lot of 5 of Clubs people as business partners, as friends, as people that I just want to have in my life because that is a main player in my birth card spread. It's a huge card for me. It's with my Mercury, which is my final dispositor of my entire birth card or my entire birth chart. So it's like, it'd be really,
diamond, right?
Yeah, and I believe that is I can't remember the 5 of Clubs spread. Hang on.
No, I remember. It's weird in my chart. Actually, I'll share with people so they can see. It's kind of crazy.
I want to look at it.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So
I'm not in your spread, but we have a lot of overlapping, and so like it.
So what I noticed is, where was it? That's my spread. But I was in an 8 of diamonds. I think it was last year, or no? What was it? Like this year, I'm in a 9 of diamonds. At 35, 9 of diamonds.
Okay, go to last year then. Yeah, 8 of diamonds, sun card.
And diamonds.
We met in this Yeah.
And we met in the 7-year cycle of that. And that was the actual sun card that went through the whole 7-year cycle. And I was at a 10 of clubs progression, which we were talking about the 10, you know, and for me in my life was I created the whole Leo King at that time, like at that 8 of diamonds moment. Like time was like me and my astrology and everything, which was crazy.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And it's kind of funny too, because do you know Astrology?
Yeah, and I've worked with her and done a whole love video with her about the future of love. And her and I were talking about how it's going to be, and that was in 2016 that, you know, we were seeing like 2018, 2019, 2020 is when it would all make sense for people, you know?
And she's an 8 of diamonds. So I'm just saying, like, these 8 of diamonds people were huge influences for you, or like we're just like in a similar energy, you know, like I could relate to you, you could relate to me. And I also met my boyfriend, because you guys are like the same age. So I met him when he was in this exact same 7-year progression with 8 of diamonds on his sun, but his 8 of diamonds sun was like connected with his Venus, like relationships. So that's why I was like a love partner for him, right? So isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
And
that's the best part of it all.
So, okay, so the best part about the cards of
when you were
truth.
here, I think I had an 8 of diamonds one day, and I think you had a 5 of clubs one day or something like that.
Yes, and we were both like running the same 3 of diamonds, I think. Because 3 of diamonds is your
sun card, yeah.
Your sun card has your ascendant, all that kind of stuff. And the 3 of diamonds for me is my soul planet card, which I teach all this stuff in my class. So if you're wondering, like, if you would learn all this, you'd absolutely learn all of this. Plus with the cards of truth, like the thing that really distinguishes the cards of truth from astrology and from tarot is that you can make specific predictions about specific people. Like I could be like, oh, I wonder who I'm going to hang out with on Friday night. And I could be like, well, it's going to either be David or my boyfriend because it's a 5 of clubs, or, you know what I mean? You can like see who it is because everyone has a birth card.
Yeah, it was weird because I ended last year, you know, my 34 as a 5 of clubs, Saturn. It was like a major transition in my life of who I was from future life to high vibe, from, you know, and Saturn also was business and so forth. And it was with my Jupiter there, and it was in the 5th and 6th houses. It was also, you know, my divorce too. Like it was kind of a major moment in my life, like, and redirection of my reality, my love life. Jupiter's ruler of my 5th house, and there's Jupiter in that card. Like it was major.
Well, you had that would be a very self-defining year with that 5 of clubs, like one of the most important years of your life. And then you were on the path during those 7 years of the 7 of hearts, which is like, you know, the death of love. It could have also been like you trying to figure out how to have a decent long-term relationship, like committed and all that. But for you, it ended up being a relationship that ended.
If you look at it, my 7-year progression was Jack of Hearts with Pluto, and that's my Venus. I have like the most erratic, loving Venus ever.
But the good thing about you is that you do have this beautiful sun card. Sun is your spouse. So like, you know, you can attract a really great partner. You can attract someone that's amazing and someone that's a lot like you. Because it's related, you know, like your ascendant is in there. So it's like you want to be with someone that's like you.
It's true. I just feel having Jack of Hearts, Venus, and a South Node 2 of Hearts is like
well, you're learning.
I know we're talking cards of truth because some people are like, I don't know what that means. I mean, that's like kind of like a karmic, wild love life.
Yeah, five of clubs often do have crazy love lives. Like I've met so many five of clubs, and like typically five of clubs people, they'll like sleep with a lot of people, you know what I mean? Like they will have like hundreds of partners or something crazy. Like five of clubs people, they need to learn how to like love and let go, love and let go, love and let go.
But yeah, my
And
Mars is 7 of Hearts. Oh man.
but it can change. I mean, it's not always going to be like that depending on what your chart is, but like there's definitely,
That
especially
was
in like
like my
the
20s, you know?
yes, like your 20, like I've met people five of clubs that are married and whatever, but usually they go through a period of exploration and fun and learning like
That's what's crazy is you can
yeah.
take it back, right? And then like take it and like, oh wait, I went the wrong way. It was like, you know, you could take it right in my 20s and it's like, oh yeah, look at all that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, 2 of Hearts with the moon, you know,
Yeah,
Mars,
exactly.
King of Hearts. Oh, you know, Venus, 6 of Hearts, or Jupiter, 6 of Hearts. Holy shit, with the moon, South Node, Uranus, and fucking Neptune. That's my Jupiter card. Oh,
So there you have it. I mean, and then that Jack of Spades Rahu, like you were just willing to take some risks.
right. But you know, that's what's funny is that 2 of Hearts is my South Node in my natal, and it was in my moon card position.
Because you have
And
a lot
that
basically
22 was my first live-in, move-in relationship.
and basically what that two of hearts K2 card is telling you is that there are a lot of people that you need to close some karmic chapters with.
Yeah.
You know, you are completing some
And that
relation.
describes my Venus in the 12th to a T.
And see how
what I
these
love is-
relate?
what?
See how it all relates?
That's what I'm saying is that like what I'm trying to show people is what you're going to teach people is like that they can see their natal charts way more clearer through this system and the dates and the years and the months and the everything and the kind of people, and it is the future.
And the specific people, like that's what blows my mind. Like literally specific. Oh, my mom's gonna call at 4 p.m. My boyfriend's gonna pick me up at 2:01. Right. You know, my dog is going to whatever. Like it's just you can literally see that. I mean, obviously it's hard to always make a specific prediction, but you can and you will. I used to be really obsessive with looking at the cards, and I would predict every single time my boyfriend and I would get into a fight, and I would do my best to try to avoid it. And it wouldn't matter. It was predicted. I quit checking the cards religiously just because, you know, it gets a little obsessive. But the other day I got a brand new surfboard and I was afraid to take it out. So I was like, if the waves aren't very good, I'm not going to surf. So I brought it out. The waves were terrible. They were closing out. So I brought it back in, and I also checked my cards before, and I saw that I had a 7 of spades. So I knew that there was a high chance of me breaking the board or hurting it. So I was like, okay, good. Like the waves are bad. I avoided this collision. I put the board back, leaned it against the wall, started working on something else. 10 minutes later, I hear the loudest bang ever. I run and my surfboard fell over and got a huge ding in it before I even used it. And it was like the cards never lie. It said, you're going to break your board or something's going to happen to your board. And I tried to avoid it, did everything in my power, still happened. I had to bring the board in today to get fixed. But it's just crazy. Like I was able to specifically see it would be like related to sport, related to, you know, vehicles. So it was like my surfboard's my sports vehicle and it got ruined. So you can predict things like that, and not that it can always help you prevent it, but at least it's fun.
Accept it and not freak out.
Right. Like, okay, it was meant to happen. And yeah, so that's what really is crazy about the cards. And they even say like the cards are written about in the Bible. Like it's like some real ancient thing. So we go over all that in the class. And
yeah, like my parents got divorced when I was 11 into 12, right? So 7 of spades, Jupiter, into 2
with that.
Clubs, you know, it's like you can start doing stuff like that where you're like, whoa.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, well, all these terrible things that happen to me, they make sense. And when you really are on your spiritual path, you start to work more with the higher frequencies of the cards. And I teach you how to look at the cards like in their best possible light, and also the more negative expressions. And so you can really see, like, am I really flowing with life? Am I really flowing with my path? And when you are, you know, if you reach a scary part of your journey, like, it's not going to feel so bad because you're getting the best out of that rather than being a slave to it or a victim of it.
Right.
So you actually you can get really empowered through the study of these cards. And I love seeing my students start to like learn about themselves and grow. And I don't know, there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of breakthroughs. I was getting like so many thank you cards from people, and I wouldn't say it's me. I just think it's that when you are learning about yourself in this like really structured way over 22 weeks, like there's no way that you're not going to learn something that's valuable. You know, you're taking that time.
Completely. Yeah. And you know, it just gives you everything that you really need to know. I mean, I got on True Beauty, 24 years old, King of Diamonds.
A beautiful King of Diamonds.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, and then at 25 was, oh, snaps, you know, like I got in a like famous relationship, Jupiter, 6 of Hearts, you know?
Right. And that Saturn, I mean,
that Saturn was breakup.
There was a lot of
in my
becoming,
you know?
You're becoming very mature through that relationship, and it wasn't easy.
No. So it's like, but all that's there. And that's what Nicole teaches. And it will make you a better astrologer. It'll make you a better reader. It'll make you just understand your life. Because I think that what Nicole, and I think I would say that I like to teach too, is to teach you yourself how to start to, you know, it's great hearing horoscopes from other people and predictions and getting readings, but it's also like, it's not like you have enough money to just buy a reading every day from somebody, that it's like using these tools for yourself. And that's what she does an amazing job of teaching people, is how to do this so they can apply it to their own worlds and their own life. And I think that's the most beautiful part.
You can like basically have your own personal horoscope every single day. Like I said, I was like, oh, my board's going to break today. Shoot. And then, you know, things like that. And also once you get to know your spouse's card, your girlfriend's card, your kid's card, you start to get familiar with these things and these patterns, and you start to be able to kind of see, okay, well, next year I might need to put a little bit more energy into my relationship with my son, or, you know, I might need to kind of take care of how I speak to my boss, because I know my boss is this card and it's in a challenging position. And you know, your reader is not going to know that. Like, I'm not going to necessarily know the birth card of everyone in your life. I ask people to send me data for a few individuals, but I'm not going to know every single person. But you will over time know everyone in your life's birth card and be able to make predictions. And that's why this is a very empowering system. And then to bring it back to the tarot, knowing tarot is only going to give you this incredible foundation to go even deeper, because every single card relates to a major arcana tarot card directly. And also they have an additional meaning of a minor arcana association. So it's like you can get really, really super deep, and it's also just fun.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at 32. I got married, Jupiter, 4th, 7th house, Queen of Clubs, Mars, South Node, Uranus, Pluto. Like, I mean, you can't make that shit up.
Right. And also, like, it would be interesting to see your ex-wife's, ex-wife. I'm like making my plurals weird. Your ex-wife's,
yeah, I already
birth card stuff.
did it all. Yeah, she's 9 of diamonds.
So that's interesting. So you must have had, well, you have your King of Diamonds empowering that. Anyways.
That's what's weird is now, right? I'm in 9 of diamonds, 35, when the divorce is finished and all that shit. 12th house.
Because you know why? Because you needed to learn how to become a 9 of diamonds through her. And so that was your gift, was like you became more of whatever she was. 9 of diamonds is like somebody that Well, let's just not even, I'm not going to talk about that because then it'll maybe.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but like
But
that's what I'm trying to show people is that that's how intense when you talk about people and their card and all that. It's like, you know, and it's 12th house, right?
like saying goodbye, like see you later, Nine of Diamonds.
Yeah, like 9 of Diamonds are all kind of leaving my life in many ways, you know? So it's like, and I know a couple other 9 of Diamonds in life, you know, that have kind of fell away, I guess you could say. But you know, it's kind of interesting. And then there's other cards in the spreads of the cards, and those people could pop up too in that too, you know.
Yes, the underline and overline also tell a story, and basically I just help you make sense of it all and not get lost in it, and I keep it simple, and simple does not mean that it's stupid. It just means that it's allowing you to use something complex in a way that actually works, and it's gonna be fun.
Does 38 look good for me with that King of Clubs again? Fucking
yes.
Yeah, fuck.
That looks really, I mean, in my personal opinion, yes. I mean, you have to watch out for that Rahu. Like, you have to watch out for like overdoing things, but I love that card for you. I would be happy with that. It's not going to be without its own complications, but King of Clubs is like being at the top of your game, especially in terms of your ideas and your knowledge. Like, really feeling like, wow, like I know what I know, and I know it well, and I'm an authority.
Finishing of the nodal return, you know, at 37 and into 38, you know, you're like moving off of that. You know, it's like that's where people really have to start to see like that the astrology transits you go through, like major ones, like, you know, your North Node return every, you know, 18, 19 years, like, you know, that 37, 38 is a major transition point in people's lives. It's also after Uranus opposes Saturn and stuff for some people like me. And, you know, there's, you know, a lot that goes on, and you can see it through the cards and get a better understanding of like, okay, that'll be the time and that'll be this space. And then remembering where you're at in the moment. Because I think in astrology and tarot, like we can get way too caught up in the future, but I think that with the cards of truth and what even tarot and astrology's real main purpose is to do is to see that, but then always bring it back to center now. And remember, this is where you're at now and what to focus on now, and know that's coming. And the more you focus on the now, you'll get to that space much better and clearer than always looking at that as the carrot, that's all this is about, because then you're missing out on your life.
Exactly. And the cool thing about the cards of truth is that you see how the stories of the past or the future relate to the present. Right. Because you see these chains. So you see like, okay, there's an issue that's happening now and it might not be resolved until June. And the issue that's happening now actually has its roots in something that happened 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago. It's like you get to see how time is stacked. And that's actually like when you experience time like on the spiritual plane, that's actually how it feels. So I feel like the cards of truth represents that. And I don't see that in astrology.
Okay,
I mean,
you pop up for me in 8 of Diamonds, 2/16/20.
So maybe we'll do something cool together.
Yep.
I will be in the US then.
That's what's the crazy part. You know, now right now I just went into 2 of Diamonds with 10 of Clubs, Jack of Spades, 7 of Hearts, and Ace of Spades.
Right.
You know.
And also, sorry to interrupt you, but this is also really important. I'm also right now, my 7-year progression, I'm a King of Diamonds. So this is very Nicole energy here. Or I'm pointing, but I don't know if you can see my cursor, but in that Jupiter card, there's the 8 of Diamonds and the King of Diamonds.
Mm.
So those are both
That's
me.
A great progression to be in.
That's a great card. That's really nice. So I would say my prediction would be that between February 16th and April 8th, you're going to have a really strong idea of what age 38 is going to be like. And honestly, it's going to be, your vulnerability is going to be very important for you. And you might kind of feel like you're going to do your own thing more. Like you might just sort of feel like, you know, I need to be more Like,
well, I'm going into a triple king. I mean, that's a 3. Like, I also like to look at it like poker. Like, it's like, oh, snaps. 3 kings back to back to back.
you're going to simplify. You're going to simplify, and you're going to you're going to consolidate and do only what's important, only what's meaningful, only what matters. You're not going to waste time or energy or emotions. It's just not going to be, you have to sacrifice a lot for what it is that you want. And ultimately right now, it's like what's actually making you happy. And you're feeling pulled maybe in a lot of different directions, or you're really feeling passionate and excited about certain things. And I think throughout the course of this year, it's like, you're going to kind of see which passions that you have are important and worth pursuing, and which ones are just kind of passing trends or fads for you. And yeah, you're going to cut into what's important and get more connected with the right relationships that are actually going to pull you forward and move you forward. But it's going to be like,
and that's what I love about cards is it helps people understand the planets, as far as like why Mercury is the neutral planet, because it is the middle card between the other 6 cards on the other, or the 3 cards on each side, right? So it's like that neutral middle point. It's also the middle point of your birthday, period.
yes.
Right? And that's what I'm in right now. So I'm kind of in the space between 2 different worlds and shifting and seeing what was there halfway through your year into the next half. And those little things mean so much. And you go and teach them, because I only know the system as far as like that, but like you have the magic to it. And that's not only that, but you have the whole structure, and you have all the other stuff that I don't even know. So it's like, I just wanted to show people through my own chart, and I'm not afraid. You know me, I'm vulnerable as hell. I'll talk about anything with my life and show everybody my fucking cards and like my real cards. You know what I mean? These are when that whole expression of like, show your cards, it's like, okay, I just showed my fucking cards. People know me.
Right. I mean, and I think you're going to be going, and this actually makes sense because you're doing this whole thing of like showing behind the scenes, like what your life is like. Maybe in February, there's going to be more videos like that, because you're really being vulnerable. You're like, this is really who I am. You're not holding back. It's like,
it's 5th and 8th house too, which is so me.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not about you. It's not about you being authentic or not. Like, you're already being authentic. It's more just like, really wearing it and being whatever it is that you are. And because that's where your power is. And I don't know. It's a good year. I feel like it's a good transitional year for you into this,
Yeah, I think I'm excited,
Like for your emotions, I feel like it's good for your emotions to kind of rebuild off of your divorce and to start feeling like ready to love and ready to share your passion, and finding like the solid foundation of that after spending time alone with that 9 of spades on your K2. So you're like getting ready for connection. So it's good.
It is good. And I just wanted to show people as the last thing as we finish up. So like you can find out what card you're going to be in, like for the eclipse. So like
yes,
the eclipse for me, I'm going to be in a 4 diamonds, or I mean 8 of clubs, and then, or ace of clubs.
You'll be in the ace of clubs. Yeah.
And then on Saturn and Pluto, it's 4 diamonds,
So ace of clubs is great. So maybe you'll even make a new connection around that time. Like something, it could be romantic and work related, or just work related, something that's exciting for you. Like you could like a new idea.
5th and 6th house.
Yeah, like a new idea could come through that you're super excited about, but it could come through an individual that comes into your life. Like you could just meet somebody interesting, and it could also be financially rewarding.
Yeah, that's what's the beautiful part, is everybody can look at their week. They can look at their understanding of what cards, the people, what planet for each day, like knowing your natal chart, knowing the rulers too of those planets, and just your typical astrology is everything, in my opinion. It's like,
right.
It's like, like, whoa, like, oh, okay. Like all that stuff. And so for sometimes you might be like, well, this eclipse looks great in my astrology chart, but then it's like, or it looks bad in my astrology chart, but then the cards might show a totally different thing and actually give it more points in a different direction and a better understanding of what you're going to be going through in your life, your week, your year, your 7-year, your whole life story of your queen quadrant. Like there's so much that this gives, and I just, I don't want to give it all away, but it's just like, I just want to appreciate you and for the gifts that you bring to everybody, and for, giving that information to show people how it really works and how you're a master at what you do. So
thank you for saying that. And I'm super happy that we have been able to make a video again and reconnect after my hiatus and crises.
Hey, I was going through my own hiatus and crises too, but
yeah,
it's all good. We've all have been through that. And I think that this eclipse, to end this, is, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. And we're all coming back together, and we're all coming back whole, and we're all coming back to appreciating each other, and we're all coming into accepting each other and the choices we're all going to go make here on this great journey.
It's true. And we are like eclipse people. I mean, I don't know if any of you saw our first video we ever did. It was on an eclipse. So the eclipses are always bringing us back around.
Every eclipse we do videos.
I know. We're eclipse people.
For real.
It's like Rahu and K2 have us ensnared.
Ah! So, well, find out about Nicole Brenny at NicoleBrenny.com and her school. They put all the links down below here on YouTube. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks everybody for watching. We had a lot of awesome people in here, and then we'll try and set up another catch up with you, but where we answer questions from the chat, because the chat's been popping.
Definitely, yeah. Whenever you want to, and
the chat, let us know.
Yeah, and I wanted to tell everyone that on my site, it says that you only have until the 11th to sign up. But honestly, you can sign up until the day that I start. I will let everyone know if it gets sold out or whatever. It was a formality to put a deadline on there. So don't worry about deadlines or anything. And all the info is there. So happy to answer any questions.
Nicole, I appreciate you. Everybody appreciates you. And all right. We'll see you all later, peeps.
Yes, goodbye. Thanks.
Adios.